Before I start talking about today's review, I would not be discussing the controversies of voice actor Helluva Taylor. As an individual, I was looking forward to this game and have pre-ordered the collector's edition at GameStop, since the first two Bayonetta games were pretty fun, and I really enjoyed them. And after years of waiting since 2017, let's see how the game holds up and see if it does anything to make the series better or for worse. Let's discuss the story. This time, you'll be going after these gear heart things to save the world using multiverse bullshit, in which you go to multiple different timelines and stuff. You'll be going to like New York City at one point, another point you'll be going to China, France, and a couple other places probably. How they handle the story feels right at home to Bayonetta, with the intro being pretty much the same from past games with how it's laid out. But overall, the story feels standard with how Bayonetta is meeting these characters to get gears and combat skills, which I'll explain soon. And honestly, this gets repetitive since that's what the story is mostly focused on. But we have some plot details that involve other characters, including Sean and, new to the franchise, Viola, a whiny little bitch but somewhat improves over time as a character. Returning character Luca returns but has head injury issues. Near the end, there was a relationship spoiler that I won't go into, but it is a major surprise for many fans from what I have been heard. Personally, it's an interesting choice, but if that's how the writers want to handle the characters, so be it. Not everything has to agree to everything. Overall, the narrative feels a mix of standard Bayonetta plot points and characters, but also a little too standard in what they're trying to tell, since most games likely done a plot like this in the past. But the ending chapter felt pretty insane. Not just story, but also gameplay, which I'm going to explain right now. The gameplay itself is basically the typical fast-paced action game that everyone knows of, but with some major changes. A new gimmick to the game is that you can now have the demons fight alongside you by pressing ZL on the controller. Personally, I find it to be a slightly clunky to play, but it's not that big of a deal. Some of the battles require them, and certain missions will require you to use them for more high-paced, over-the-top battle sequences, which are fine. It helps mix the gameplay up a little bit here and there. You can hold 3 of them for battle, but you can change them after a chapter or during slow-moving sections of the chapter. The ones you can have are standard demon designs, but they can be a little more creative with them, such as a train and a clock tower as an option, which are pretty fun to use, especially the train. I love how you just put the tracks together and then they put like little singles for attacks and stuff. That's pretty fun. The gameplay is split into several chapters with around 2 prologues, 4 side missions, and 14 regular ones. The regular ones are start to finish level design with a mix of several battles, which are called versuses, both optional and required. But this game now has an open world mechanics, which includes side stuff you can do, such as platforming and challenges, or these challenge battles, which are considered versuses in the game. Honestly, it's very hard to find some of these battles since the world is trying to be an open world or a linear sandbox experience. Also, the platforming challenges do not make any sense since the game isn't really a platformer. You will find many different types of currency throughout the game that you can use in a shop or in a skill tree to upgrade stats and weapons. For health and magic, you would have to look for super rare special items that you can only get by defeating challenge battles or interacting with the world with the platforming challenges, but they're also available in the shop, but they're pretty expensive. Speaking of weapons, you have a ton of new ones you can use for Bayonetta, which is pretty unique for this game, like this yo-yo spider one that really makes you go fast and is over the top, or this large sword and train combination, which I find to be pretty fun and unique and very high paced and over the top. I think I already said that multiple times, but whatever. I really like the game did this to help give it an identity, even if some of these features are present in other games. But that's not all, since the game has other playable characters. Viola is available to play in certain levels, and she is very limited on what she can do, and only her cat Cheshire is a playable demon. You used to use a grappling hook, but then it changed to wings, but that's probably because of character development or whatever. The other one and final one is Sean, and her gameplay is completely different and is the game's side mission. It's more of a stealth-based 2D adventure gameplay that I personally didn't care for, but I think it's there to show what this character is up to, or just a experiment to see if this type of thing would go well with critics and audiences. And to wrap up the gameplay section, the final battles of the game really are what made this game stand out. I won't go into spoilers, but its battles were not only insane, but also make sense in the context of the story, along with them being fast-paced moments that make it Bayonetta. The gameplay, while I do think it's pretty standard, it has its own identity of handling its combat, and along with its pre-existing gameplay that made it Bayonetta, which helped make the game feel more alive than ever, but sometimes it can feel like a drag and can get boring as a whole. But the developers done an amazing job at making such an amazing game. And with the world-class soundtrack and unique art style, the game overall is a great game for what it is. But if you do not like these type of action games, you're not gonna enjoy this game, since it's pretty much just a standard one, but with a mix of Bayonetta. But if you are interested, then give it a shot. Like most games I always say, 8.7 out of 10.